about. Look at this cool thing like that's happening. Okay. So everyone, this is Jazz.
Hi guys.
I met Jazz. Did we meet here or did we meet at Bigfoot?
We got a big
Bigfoot.
Yeah.
The worlds collide.
They're all aware.
Yeah. Yeah. They know my two worlds.
Yeah.
That's why I tell them, like, sometimes you're gonna have two worlds.
Yep.
Especially depending on what occupation you have. You're like, oh, okay, I might have to supplement that with somewhere else.
Yeah.
But so Jazz I've known for like 5 years now.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. But he's gonna share his experience in kinesiology, his career path, just like other guest speakers, you guys, what they want to share with you about life.
Yeah, so, I was actually kind of curious, like to you, the prompt. I didn't even get a prompt for this, so I just kind of sent it. So, is it? I mean, I'm kind of going for like what I've done, what my experience was here, where you can go with this stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Good. Covered it. We're set. Okay. Hi guys. I'm Jazz Lewis. I am an alumni at Cal Poly Humboldt, which was actually Humboldt State when I was here not too long ago, but about 5 or 6 years ago. I graduated in exercise science, did a lot of my work in here actually in the biomechanics lab. I was working under Justice Ortega. It was wonderful having him as a teacher. Yeah, started a kind of a kinesiology, exercise, science-y facility and business, and I've done that in our community here. So I'm taking the time today to kind of explain to you guys what it is that I do that might be a little bit different than the traditional lanes that you'll take in your standard kinesiology, Humboldt State, Cal Poly Humboldt world. And then also kind of explain to you guys what because this is all your first year.
It's a mix, but most of them are freshmen.
Yeah,
but
okay, so you guys are all and by the way, this is super interactive. I don't want to just yammer at you the whole time. So like any feedback, questions, anything like that, like please don't hesitate to tap in. So yeah, I'll explain to you guys kind of what my experience was here, the way I went about it, which might be different than some other people that have gone through this program, and then what your future could look like, outside of Humboldt State or Cal Poly Humboldt and their programs and what avenues and pathways you might want to take going forward. There's 3 remotes here. Is there a button? Or is it
the keyboard does,
keyboard?
yeah.
Okay.
It should. We might
staying
want
over
actually
here. Okay.
Put you.
Oh,
the
do the big
presentation mode.
thing.
So.
Cool.
And then just up and down should do
Up
it too.
and down. Can I carry this thing around? Nope.
No, unfortunately.
Okay. Jazz Lewis, muscle nerd, is my. What's up, guys? How's it going? Self-proclaimed muscle nerd. There we go. Owner of Intentional Fitness. So that's our business that we've built over the last 5 years. I have a BS pins and then some other certifications that I'll talk to you guys about later. The CMSS stands for Certified Muscular System Specialist. RTS is a resistance training specialist. I don't know if you guys have heard of functional range conditioning before, but that's a really cool certification. I'll talk to you guys about all these. TPI1, that's golf, and then MAT, which is stands for muscle activation techniques. So those are kind of the general things that I have behind my name at this point. So my goals for our time, like I said, see I'm already covering this stuff here. Share my story, provide perspective on building your ideal career. So what my journey looked like and what it might look like for you guys. Explore the navigation of Cal Poly, and then what options in this field you might have, and how to navigate your decision making behind that. And then also, like I said, expose you to a unique career. Wow, I totally covered this. This is great. So just out of curiosity, majors, like what are you guys planning on? Is there pre-PT? Like who's doing pre-PT or who has an idea? Just you can raise your hand and just checking in. Okay, so not a lot of is pre-PT still a thing here?
Oh, raise your hands higher, you guys. I know there's like half of you are doing PT.
Cool.
Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
Okay, so about half, and then exercise science. Okay. Oh, okay. So a lot of pre-PT, some exercise science. Any recreation? Yeah, I kind of. Okay. Is that still a thing here?
It is.
It is?
It's a very small thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Very
Okay.
small.
Okay, so a lot of pre-PT and some exercise science, no rec. I'm just curious, like with some of you guys, I mean, if you don't mind giving feedback, what was your decision with the pre-PTs? What was the decision behind that versus exercise science? Does anybody want to share at all? Yeah, yeah, please.
I was thinking going to med school.
Nice, okay. So more of a trajectory towards med school. Cool, that's awesome. I think that's, makes a lot of sense to do that. Anybody else want to share anything? No worries if not. Yeah, please.
Sports nutrition.
Cool, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and that makes sense to go more of the medical route at Cal Poly versus the exercise science, which is a little less heavy on the, how's it going, guys? A little less heavy on the science stuff there. Okay, cool. And then exercise science, guys, anybody? I'm just curious, what made you go that route? Anybody? Exercise science majors don't talk. Okay, perfect. You said you were exercise science major? You? Yeah? You? Yeah. Right? No? I thought he was. I'm curious to hear why you went through, are going into exercise science and not the pre-PT route. Just going for it? Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Just curious. Okay, sweet guys. So my background, I played sports in high school, started at an early age. Lots and lots of injuries, which kind of pushed me into the direction of being curious about kinesiology and exercise science and that whole world. I was pretty banged up by the time I was already 20, 21, and was kind of looking at my life going forward going, I'm probably not going to be moving very well when I'm 30 or 40 if I don't figure this thing out. So that was kind of my motivation to get into this field. And that's crazy. Here I am 13 years later, which is weird to say out loud. So my journey into kinesiology was a little bit different than most people that like go into either like a community college and then move into their kines 4-year system. I did 2.5 years of architecture, year and a half of business at CR, and then had a huge crazy injury longboarding at College of the Redwoods. If you guys are cringy, close your eyes, but I didn't want to show you. This is pretty wild. So this is my special foot there. This was, I'll pause. So I broke my ankle, dislocated at a 90-degree angle. I was totally thrashed. I went through the PT route. They took me in a direction that I was frustrated with the results I was getting. Not saying that PTs aren't great and everything, but I needed more out of it, and so that's kind of why I started looking at alternate options with my rehabilitative process. And keep in mind, at this point, I was not in the kinesis world. I was just looking for something to help me move better. And so I started looking into, we call it like neuromuscular optimization or neuro rehab, which is a lot of the applied kinesiology, and I'll get into all this later, but applied kinesiology, but also the neurophysiology stuff as well. So super nerdy, fun stuff. So anyway, I went into a rehab process with these guys, and they got me up and running. And I was so into this that I dropped out of college and flew to Denver for a year and studied this stuff. And so this was kind of like the ground floor of what I got into. And this was called MAT, or muscle activation techniques. And so one of the things I want to do is just expose you guys to some various certifications that you can get after you get out of Humboldt State, because I mean there is the PT route, there's the majors that or the research stuff that you do with a master's degree, but then there's also this kind of weird world that's not really a standard lane that you take, which is like personal training, but personal training plus, where you're doing a bunch of certifications and kind of building out a brand for yourself or building out a business for yourself. So this was the first thing I went into. MAT stands for muscle activation techniques. It's kind of a manual. We use tables. It's a manual testing and kind of origin insertion stimulus technique. It was really good for an intro because they taught me a lot about functional anatomy, biomechanics, all the important stuff for working with clients. So that was kind of my first thing I went into. I spent a couple years studying this and then started building out a small business in a mother-in-law unit. And so this is kind of the step-by-step journey here. Oh, no, here we go, I'll do that later. So after that, I'm just giving you the whole story here. After that, I got really interested in Kines, came here, did my time in the biomechanics lab, doing the bachelor's degree in kinesiology. I got all these other certifications, and then this one here is the big one that I'm going to talk to you guys quite a bit about today, which is the muscular system specialist certification. This is the thing that has drastically changed my business and the way I work with clients and how I organize just everything that I do with humans. So we'll talk more in depth about that in a little bit. So yeah, my experience at Humboldt State was amazing. I loved it. The biomechanics lab was great. Human performance lab was really helpful for understanding how to do client intake, work with clients, data tracking. Has anybody done like any of the biomechanics HPL stuff yet, or is it, yeah, you have? Okay, cool. Is it mandatory? I don't know if it is or not.
I think it's for exercise science majors.
Only for exercise
I think
science?
so,
Okay,
just for exercise
gotcha.
science.
For the PT, can the PTs do it?
Yes, I think they can.
I highly recommend, if you're in pre-PT, still go through at least the biomechanics lab or the HPL. You just, the ability, I mean, I think isn't this like one of the only well, I guess we're not
CSUs.
we're not a CSU anymore.
I think we still are in the CSU
are
system.
we? Well,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's like we have like one of the best kines lab setting programs in the state, if not the country. So just take advantage of that, because it was so helpful to be able to be in clinical settings and work in these environments where you're interacting with clients and giving prescriptions and doing those kinds of things. So yeah, these are just highlighted courses that I personally loved here. Motor learning was super fascinating because it's the neurophysiology, how the brain works, how the brain communicates with the body, how the brain learns. That stuff is super fascinating. The psychology, your brain, how your brain is thinking, how your brain is interpreting your existence, your movements, everything around you. So those are great classes. Pay attention in those classes. It's very important. So one thing I wanted to say, and this was something that helped me as I was going through my time here at Humboldt State and Cal Poly, is pay attention and be aware of the real world application of the stuff you're learning. Because I think sometimes we can get caught in like the minutia of going to class, being in class, doing the work, doing the tests and all that stuff, and you lose sight of what could be at the end of this road, which is a career, working with clients, doing research. But take these things that you're learning on a day, and this is just advice for you guys, take this stuff that you learn on a day-to-day basis, and while you're learning it and studying it, think about how you could apply this and how you could use this going forward. Because I think it's super important, and it makes that material more meaningful as you're absorbing it, not just let me study this and spew it on a piece of paper and hand it to the teacher. So I just think it's really important to keep that in mind as you go through these 3 or 4 years. So moving on. Oh look, I just said that. Nice. How the information knowledge gained from Cal Poly be used in your career. Think about it constantly. Wow, I'm ahead of the game here. We'll move on here. The other thing I did want to talk about is internships. These internships are so valuable if you pick the right internship. I did my internships in the concussion lab, biomechanics lab, and then we did like fall prevention work in the biomechanics lab. And this is obvious, but what I was going to say is apply for internships that you could see for yourself as a career or a stepping stone to a career. So don't just send it just to get an internship and get in, get out. Really think about what that could mean for you going forward, because it could be a foot in the door to something that could be a lifelong career. One thing I think is really important to look for, I didn't necessarily get this because I was in the concussion lab and biomechanics lab, but to look for internships that offer some form of business development, future planning, and energy management for yourself. This is not something that I personally got at Humboldt State or Cal Poly. We didn't, as kinesiology majors, we don't really get a lot of business courses. We don't get a lot of what the future of building a business or working for a business looks like. But this is something that if you can find an internship that gives you that, you're gonna be ahead of the game when you get out. So, any questions or excuse me, or thoughts or anything like that, guys? No? Good. Yep. Okay. Am I boring you yet? No. Okay. Sweet. Okay. Here we go. A question for you. What excites you guys most about kinesiology and the opportunity at Cal Poly? Just want to hear if anyone wants to say anything. Why'd you guys, like, what are you doing here? What are you excited about? What's up, man? Yeah.
Just learning how like your body works.
Cool. Love it. You're in the right place, man. That's great. Yeah. Did you did you have like a lane that you wanted to go into that got you into this like place where you're so interested in the human body? Was it
Personal training.
Personal training,
it's
cool.
fun, yeah.
Nice, awesome, man. That's great. Yeah, man.
I
Please.
was just gonna say the labs.
Yeah.
And then like every person that works in the labs or in pretty much any kines class,
Yeah.
they're all really friendly and really approachable.
Yep.
And, like, they'll go on and on about their careers, about what they are teaching.
This
so
is yep.
that's really helpful for us as students to like gain knowledge and build connections.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that was just telling my wife last night. Like, I feel like the kines group, whatever you want to call you guys, the student base is like one of the most friendly student bases. I just feel like there's so much openness and your excitability around this stuff. So that's awesome. Were you? Yeah, please.
Yeah. At my high school, we had a sports medicine program.
Nice.
So we got like a really like early intro to the human body and how it works,
Okay,
and,
so-
like injury prevention, and we got to work in the training room with athletic trainers, and I just found a passion for helping athletes to get back to the sport that they love and
That's
getting back
awesome.
to who they are.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Cool. That's awesome. So do you want to do more of the rehab for the athletes, or you doing preventative as well? Combo of both.
Combo of both.
Yeah.
Athletic training in general.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome. Cool. Anybody else? Good? Yep. Thank you guys for sharing. I appreciate the dialogue here. Like I said, I don't like just standing up here and yammering. So, okay, cool. So going back into this kind of development of education, business, and all the things that come with that. I graduated in 2016. Self-employed. I had a small little mother-in-law unit that I was working out of, and that was kind of through my time at Cal Poly. And I did this backwards. That was the thing, is I kind of got into this neuro exercise world, and then got into the kines, actual scholarly stuff afterwards. Kept building this business, got as many certifications as possible, and then went through this MSS certification in 2019, and that's really what started building my business to where it is now. So, yeah, there's the pictures. There we go. So this was my first little exercise lab. This was a mother-in-law unit that I rented out. It was a 400 square foot little box. I had a little metal pole on the wall that I did stretchy band work with. Spent about 3.5, 4 years, like basically my time at Humboldt State, was working out of there. This was my second place, and this was actually in the Stewart School building. I don't know if you guys know where that is, but Cal Poly just bought that place, so we're actually on our way out here soon. So that was my second place, and then this was our third place, and I just wanted to share a bunch of pictures with you guys of, so this is our brand, Intentional Fitness. This is our place now, super proud of it. I'll just blast through a couple of these pictures here. So just wanted to show you guys what an opportunity could look like getting out of this kines program and where you could go from here. There it is. So this is us doing all sorts of weird nerdy muscle stuff. This is crazy. These neck exercisers, just all sorts of weird stuff. We're doing velocity-based training with clients, deadlift, squats, functional training, So this is kind of just the world that I wanted to show you guys. Agility training for 94-year-old here, cardiovascular conditioning, all sorts of fun stuff. So this is kind of our thought process around what we're doing with our clients. I'll just read this out to you guys. Holistically, bolster our clients' neuromuscular system while concurrently educating them every step of the way. I think that's super important, and I'm just talking about as you start working with clients and as you start thinking and putting yourself in that mode of working with people, educating them is one of the most important and valuable things that you can do working with a client, because if they know their stuff better than the trainer down the road, they're gonna stick with you forever. You're gonna have plenty of income, no question about it. That way our clients can confidently make better life decisions regarding their health and fitness, which is what it's all about. We wanna teach our clients how to control their bodies appropriately and implement tailored training programs specific to each individual client, which is so important to be tailored to that client. We want to think about clients as N1 studies. So we're looking at each client very individualized. This will help them get to their goals and fundamental objectives. So just last thing, telling you guys my story. Since I've started this business, onboarded a team of muscular system specialists. I have 2 right now. We're getting ready to onboard a 3rd. I'm constantly looking for more specialists. We actually just bought this 5,000 square foot church, and we're going to be renovating this place and building this crazy exercise nerd science facility out. So I'm super excited about that. And so for any of you guys, I mean, I'm doing a little plug right now, but for anybody who's in the area, plans on staying, yeah, please.
I was gonna ask if it's local.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So anybody who is planning on staying in the area, who is interested in diving in, this is one really fun, very, very rewarding, and very lucrative too. As I'm just putting the plug in there, we have a really, really solid process. So think about that. Like I said, I'm gonna plug all this later, but just to get the gears turning here, because I think that having an avenue on your way out here and having something that's already structured and built out for you, so you're not like leaving Cal Poly and going, all right, what do I do now? Am I gonna do personal training at Health Sport and make $22 an hour, or do I have a career ahead of me and slide into something that you can do for the rest of your life and invest in 401ks and buy houses and blah, 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 and all that stuff. So it's important to have the financial component as well. Okay, how you guys doing? Good? Okay, haven't lost anybody yet? Okay, sweet. So this brings me to my next kind of phase of this presentation, which is the Muscular System Specialist certification. This is the thing that has created a business model that is scalable for me and something that I will use for the rest of my life with my clients and building my business and my game planning for business development, client development, everything like that. So the easiest way I can explain what we are basically a hybrid model between a physical therapist and a personal trainer. What I mean by that is when you move into the PT route, the thing that happens is unless you're cash based, you have to deal with code. And so, for the most part, I mean, I don't know if there's any exceptions to that, but what I've seen and explored with PTs that I know, their hands can get tied behind their back because they're, how's it going, man?
Good, and you?
Good. Their hands kind of get tied. What's up, man? Their hands get tied behind their back because there's specific things that you can do with your clients, and you have to write codes for that. You have to get it approved by insurance, and it's just a mess sometimes. And so what we've done is we've kind of created this model where the majority of us are exercise science, and we have a lane that we take where we're still doing kind of applied or science-based kinesiology with the client, but it's in more of a personal trainer setting. So I'm not saying it's a loophole, but we're able to work with clients in a way that PTs can't work with them because of the lack of regulation. I'm being cautious here, but the lack of regulation for what we can do, which means that if somebody comes in, like for example with a blown out knee, right? And they say, hey, I need my knee rehab. Well, I can go, okay, I'm gonna assess your knee, but I'm also gonna assess your ankle, your hip complex. I'm gonna assess pelvic mobility. I'm gonna assess your respiratory excursion rates. Like, is your rib cage compressing appropriately to stabilize your pelvis? And is that compressing the knee? Is that putting more strain on the knee? Is that gonna affect your rehab process? So I can like look at all different aspects of the body. Muscular system specialist, we're looking at systems of the body, the whole thing, not just come here, let me ultrasound your knee, stretch you out a little bit, send you on your way. So what we're trying to do is take people, especially that come in from a rehab process, and turn them into bricks, and not just get them back to the ADLs, because that, I mean, you basically, you're not shoring anything up when you do that. So anyway, I'll just read this out. Our approach, comprehensive approach to exposing and treating neuromuscular breakdown and biomechanical dysfunction in the body using systems that revolve around exercise, physiology, nutrition, and psychology to optimize bodies. Do you guys have any questions? I know this is some wordy stuff that I'm just kind of hucking at you guys, but any your curiosities, thoughts, anything? Good? Yep, okay. Sweet. So our demographic that we work with in this muscular system certification, this is specifically to intentional fitness and kind of our group that we have. 12 to 95 years old, 95 is our oldest. We have a very diverse client base, which is also really cool because we have, every day is different. I'll have a golf client one day, I'll have a rehab client one day, I'll have a geriatric 95-year-old that's trying to feed his ducks in his duck pond the next day. So how's it going, man? So yeah, it's very diverse in my day. I mean, I see 10 clients a day. It's very, very different from one appointment to the next, and there's no real carryover because everyone is so individualized. So yeah, athletes, business owners, rehab, stroke patients, general pop, weekend warriors, the golfers that are trying to get after it, the aging population, which is I would say our biggest population, and anyone looking to optimize their body. The reason I highlighted aging population is because one of the things that I started looking into was from a business standpoint, where we're heading with the baby boomer situation right now is the biggest population that needs us right now. I mean, you can work with those high performance athletes. That's a very small demographic. You have to be very, very, super niche. And then if you want to make a bunch of money, you have to get on. I'm not saying money's everything, but I'm saying that if you want to have a good salary and a good career, you have to get with a good sports team, a good school, something like that. Whereas here, I would say Humboldt County, we don't have a high dollar rate, but when you're working with this age demographic, which is like, I'd say, aging population, not 50, but you can say from 50 to 85 or 90, that demographic has money and they're willing to spend that money to prolong their life or to prolong their, happy, healthy, quality of life. So to think about that is really important. Like, what do you want your demo to look like? I think that is probably the next slide. But I really thought about that and went, okay, what can I build out that will fund and give us an opportunity to scale this business? And I like working with the aging population anyway, but they are the ones that have the money. I'm telling you, it's important to know that. I guarantee you 12 and 15-year-old athletes don't have money. I promise you that. Their parents might though, so you can start building a business around that. So here we go. Ahead of the game here. What population do you want to work with? And like I said, this is something I just want you guys to keep going. Constantly be thinking about this when you're going through this educational experience, right? Who do I want to work with? What is this going to look like? What am I going to be doing after this? Don't just immerse yourself and be stuck in this. This is important to immerse yourself in this educational experience, but keep thinking about the future too. What do I want out of this? What am I getting out of this? I'm like a broken record here. But anybody want to tell me what populations you guys want to work with? Anybody? Yeah, please, man.
I want to work with veterans and homeless people.
Awesome, man. What are you gonna do with them? What's your?
I really want to use biomechanics
Yes.
as a way to rehabilitate them in whatever way, shape, or form they are injured.
That's awesome.
Because exercise changes lives.
It does. It Agreed,
So
man.
just to give them that step in the right direction would be amazing.
That's great. Do you want to build your own business? Do you want to work
Yeah,
for somebody else?
I
Build your
wanna
own
do my
business.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Cool. Well, and I'm gonna plug my stuff later, but one of the things I do want to do is give you guys my contact info. If you want any advice or kind of roadmap or anything like that to building your business, please reach out. I mean, I'd be more than happy to just kind of point you guys in the right direction with us. Anybody else, general pop, what's your population you want to work with? Does anybody else want to throw something at me? Cool, good. Okay, perfect. I know you want to work with athletes, so that's good. Okay, so this is going to just be an example of, or kind of a brief explanation of what we do, what our assessment looks like. If you guys are curious about any of this stuff and would like me to go into more detail, I'm more than happy to, because I love talking about this stuff. So when we get a client in, the first thing we're doing is a consultation, and then we move them into an assessment. I'll talk more about the consultation and the client intake stuff in a little bit, but this stuff's super fun to talk about. So when we do our assessment, we take on health history questionnaires. So we have about a 9-10 page health history questionnaire. We're assessing their whole system, emotional stress levels, injury history, medications, what are they doing right now, current activity levels, did they play music in high school, did they play sports, right? If you play violin 25, 30 hours a week, what's your body gonna be doing constantly? This, hello. You're gonna be stuck in this position over and over. What do you think that's gonna do to the nervous system? It's gonna have it frozen, stuck in this position. They might never want a right side bend, right laterally flex their neck. They might not know how to compress their right rib cage. These are things you wanna start thinking about when you're working with clients. Somebody comes in and they're walking like this, and they're like, yeah, I play violin all the time. Oh, really? Okay, so we need to start working something on that right lateral side of the body. So anyway, that's one of the reasons why the health history questionnaire is super important. We check vitals because we have communication with doctors, and we need to be letting the doctors know, hey, blood pressure was this today. Hey, the circumference on their right thigh that's rehabbing is this at this point. So we're throwing data points at doctors and people that we communicate with all the time. Also, just to keep checks and balances and measures on our clients. For example, somebody with super normal blood pressure, all of a sudden they're doing something on an elliptical. You see the spike, you have normative data, or you have data that you've already looked at to go, hey, this is an issue. I need to refer you out to somebody. Something weird's going on. So we need to be accountable for all aspects of the human body here. We look at respiratory tendencies, blood pressure, waist to hip circumferences, leg length, weight distribution, respiratory excursions, circumference, edema, standing posture, supine posture, range of motion, and controlled based testing. So this is kind of our phase one. What are we looking at in the body? What do we do with the body from this point? And so, anybody have any questions, by the way? I'll just keep going. Yeah. So the idea with this MSS process is it's threshold based. And so what we want to think about is, where is this client that we take on at? Where's their current systemic threshold at? For example, if you got a 74-year-old and you look at this 74-year-old, you probably already have some preconceived ideas about what their threshold is, right? So you're not going to throw them like, all right, Norma, I want you to get on a 185 deadlift PR. You're not going to do that with them, right? And so understanding how to interact with those thresholds is super important, which is why we collect all this data. And now the way that we improve thresholds is by stimulating the system slowly but surely, giving it the appropriate stimulus, and then seeing how the body changes over time, adaptations, right? And so it's really important to target that level of stimulus and not overstimulate somebody, because that's how you lose clients and hurt people. So, any thoughts or questions on that, guys? Okay. Is that obvious to you guys at this point already? Just as far as like how I know that I'm coming from a place where I only work with clients, so I know you guys are in different worlds, but we're all, no matter what you do, right, you're all doing the same stuff. When we're working with humans, we're all interacting with thresholds. Even if you're just doing research, We're looking at someone's VO2 max. Where does their system cap? How do you push that person to that point, and then what do you do with that data to increase that VO2 max? It's all the same stuff. We're looking at thresholds and we're moving thresholds. So anyway, yeah. So this, I'll just kind of give you guys a once over on this here. So when we do an assessment, this is our so small. Oh well. When we do an assessment, this is our mobility profile that we build out. So when we do the range of motion assessment, we have about 115 range of motion assessments that we do with each client. It's not every single client, but we do have the availability and opportunity to do this. We put the range of motion, mobility issues here. This is their posture, and you can see we kind of run these posture zone assessments. And then there's a bunch of stuff in between here that we don't need to get into the nitty gritties, but this is kind of how we look at the body, and we look at this from a positional standpoint and a movement based standpoint. And so you can see, like I said, I'm not going to go into the nitty gritties, but just some interesting things like this person, their rib cage is hiked on one side and compressed on the other. Their body's rotated one way. And then if you look here, their body doesn't want to rotate the same way that their body's already rotating. So what can we do to try and improve the biomechanics there? Well, maybe this body is already smashed in this left rotated position, so maybe what we could do is improve their functionality by training their system to rotate better to the right to pull them out of that smashed left position. Makes sense. So that's just a basic thing that I would look at and go, hey, I'm gonna do this with you. Set them up with a band exercise, seated, here we go. I'm gonna have you do some right rotation stuff. See if their body changes. And we're constantly, this is the beautiful thing about this process, and what I love about it is we're constantly doing checks and balances, and it's basically it's field science the whole time. We're testing a hypothesis. I wonder if left rotation will improve the right hip flexion. Okay, let's try it. You recheck the right hip flexion. Oh, it didn't change it. Cool. I'm gonna run another sample, run another experiment. And so we have clients that are just on board that want to go, hey, let's run this. Let's test my body out and see if we can build me out. And so it's super fun. These are our daily notes that we take. So, and that's super important, by the way, just taking good quality notes, getting in the habit of that now. I'm sure you guys are already doing that, but just nerd out on your notes. Like, just make sure that they're very understandable and consistent. I think that's super important. This is our report of findings here. So we basically produce a report of findings for each client. They usually last between 8 to 15 weeks of work with them, 1 to 2 days a week, and then that's essentially this phase 1 training. So the idea with the phase 1 training with this MSS certification is you're trying to arrest pain responses, improve overall body control, trying to bolster this system to get them to a point where they can tolerate higher intensity, more conventional exercise. And I think that's one thing I wanted to say before with this threshold idea. When we get them in this phase 1 assessment, we're basically getting them on a table. We're going, hey, how does your body, we're kind of looking at them and going, how does your body work in a non-gravity loaded environment? Once we understand how their system is working in non-gravity, where their system isn't stressed and there isn't a bunch of cap on their body, then we can take that, bolster that system, and then see how they work in gravity, where they're actually loaded with, quote unquote, a closed chain environment. Because if they can't tolerate something on a table, guaranteed they're not going to be able to do a single leg drop down squat or anything like that. So you got to make sure you build that person out first from a control standpoint. This is a perfect example of a guy that I worked with. He's actually 24 years old. Dude came in with sciatic nerve pain, shooting pain down his leg. I mean, he's like trying to PR like 350 on deadlifts, just blown out, completely torched. And he's in great shape now. He's not in any pain. The interesting thing, you would assume like part of it is a strength profile issue where he's getting this pain response. For him, it was actually a control-based issue in his pelvic floor, which was wild. And so he had a pretty significant injury when he was in his like early early teens, he smashed his tailbone, and so he had no foundational support in his pelvis. I'm not talking about like the Kegel, I'm talking about like the whole pelvic floor. If you look at the anatomy of the pelvic floor, it's a massive sheath of muscle down there. But he would be getting on top of the deadlift, and he had nothing, so his whole body was just collapsing out under him. And so, just working pelvic floor conditioning and a few various other things, we got this guy back up and running, and he's doing great now. So, one example there. The MSS phase 2 is, like I was saying, the dynamic capacity of the body. So, how are you moving in space? How are you moving in gravity, with gravity loaded on you, not just laying on a table? We're looking at strength endurance testing, looking at fatigue rates, looking at endurance capacity, moving people into compound lifting, agility testing, training, cardiovascular testing, training. So the cool thing about this process is you're not just stuck in rehab land forever, which can get really, really boring if you're just rehabbing clients all the time. Like, I want to get somebody out of the rehab state and start hammering some weights with them, because that's gonna, it's gonna 10x their system right there. So it's fun. You get to live in this world of both. Like, you'll have a rehab client in the morning, you'll be doing compound lifting with somebody in the afternoon. So I'm pushing for it, guys. I'm gonna get a couple of you guys. That's gonna get. So that moves me into this kind of phase of talking about the MSS course. So the muscular system course, this was developed by, actually, crazy enough, developed by a nuclear engineer who lives in Columbus, Ohio. The dude almost died on a nuclear submarine when he was in the military, and he was like, I'm out. I'm gonna do exercise stuff. So the catchphrase he always says is, what's more complicated than a nuclear submarine? The human body. That's basically the only thing there. So he built out this incredible course which interacts with all the systems of the body. How are we progressing people? Like I said, talking about thresholds. And so this is a course that you can actually do online. And for anybody who wants to build their own business, and anybody who wants to get out of Humboldt, Cal Poly, whatever you want to call this place now, and start a career building a business, building a brand, I can't recommend any other course other than this one at the top of the list here, because if you could go through this course in conjunction with finishing up your degree here, which it would be crazy to do that, but if you could do that, you would be 5,000 miles ahead of anybody else that's graduating. If you're trying to build your own business, or if you're trying to work for a gym, or if you're trying to do one of the something in between that. So I'm pushing this. This is it, guys. I'm telling you, I have not seen a more comprehensive course. It's basically like if any certification had a college degree, this would be that certification. So there it is. What is this course? So I've just said a bunch of these things. I'm gonna just reiterate them again. Building a client base. So this course offers the ability, or it offers you the information and the discussion revolving around what building a client base looks like. And if you guys are interested, I can get into some details. We call it fishing, but basically talking to people in the public, not relying on social media, but actually going out. We have 75,000 people in this community. Go out and talk to 5 of them a day. You're gonna have a full client load. You're gonna be making $150,000 a year in a year or two. I know it sounds crazy, but it's actually possible to do that, guys. Personal training doesn't have to be $25 to $40 an hour. What's up?
So you like give like pitch to people?
Say it again?
Do you give people like a pitch? So like,
Do I give people a pitch, or are you saying does this program provide you with pitches, or explain that a little bit more? Sorry.
so like if you're like building a business and you want your clientele, and
Yeah.
the best ways, like how do you think like pitching to people is like what kind of way?
How would I pitch somebody?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we call it pain funneling, and the idea behind pain funneling isn't that you're necessarily looking for their pain, but you're looking for the thing that causes them emotional pain. And I'm not saying to like get into their deepest, darkest feelings, but for example, like I'm standing in line at the grocery store next to Gertrude, and you know she's got some flowers in her hand. She's getting ready to go garden. I say, oh, those are nice flowers. We start chit chatting, and we start getting into this conversation about, hey, it's hard for me to get down to do my planting thing, and so that would be a pain indicator or a pain funnel right there. And I say, oh, well, that's cool. I actually work with people who have issues getting down on the floor, mobility issues. You're kind of my demographic. Would you be interested in hopping on a phone call? We could do a 15-minute chat. I gotta get going now, but let's hop on a phone call and let's talk about what you know, if you'd be interested in coming in for a free consultation. And it's that simple, man. It's crazy, but that's all it takes, and it's a step-by-step process and approach. And like I said, this is all from this MSS program. But as soon as you get somebody interested, you spark that curiosity. She goes, oh man, if he could actually help me get down and dig around in the dirt without having pain, how much are they gonna pay for that? They'll be a lifelong client, right? So then you hop on a phone call. Hey, this is what I do. You learn more about them. You get goal orientation, right? So you go, hey, what are you doing? What do you want to do? What are you doing? What have you been doing for your body? Are you doing anything for your body? Do you even know what moving right, exercise? No, I have no idea. I'm uneducated in exercise. We'll come in, let's do a free consultation. No pressure. They come in, they see our awesome facility, we chat, we figure it out. And then, you know, the nice thing talking to these clients, and this is that whole system, is you can say no anytime. Like, I don't want to waste your time. You know, we don't want to waste each other's time. Just come in, let's chat, and let's go from there. And so you get them in for the consultation. Same kind of thing, one step at a time. Do you want to do the assessment? We figured out what you do, what you need. I told you what I do, what I can give you. You want to do the assessment or not? And then you just go for it. And it's the beautiful thing about this process too is it's not about selling. It's about finding what that person needs and seeing if you can provide it to them. And so that's one thing I loved about this is, like, you know, sales courses are like so, it gets so sleazy and like so just not, and you're just not like genuine. So that's what's awesome. One of the awesome things about this course. Does that kind of answer the question there a little bit? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Sweet. Yeah. So like I said, going into consultations. Kind of exploring how this person came to get to your facility, why they're there, what they want from you, and then just being open and figuring out if it's something that you can do to help them. So this course is so dense that it is crazy. I mean, there's on client intake, there's like a 300-page binder that you go through with this stuff. And I know that sounds crazy to do at this point in your lives, but when it comes to building a client base, that is the most important thing, is understanding the client psychology, understanding the interactions with the client. How are you building this relationship? So those things are super important. Water back there? Water. Nah, fine, screw it. Okay. So then the course also provides information on how to assess the client, like I just talked to you guys about, goal orientation. How do you build a vision of where this client wants to go? What I mean by that is you have a client come in and they might feel so broken that they have no idea what a life outside of pain or outside of, you know, their current reality looks like. And so by kind of building this picture of what that could look like for them and being honest about it too, going, hey, I don't know if this is gonna work. Like, I have a strong referral system. If I see something where I'm going, this isn't changing, like your knee pain isn't going away, your strength is going up, your control's going up, your range of motion's going up, you're still in pain, I'm sending you out to an ortho, right? Or we need to do more imagery. So when you're level with them on that and you go, hey, this is my scope of practice, and this is why what I was saying about the PT versus not PT thing, we don't say anything we're not. We're muscular system specialists. We're working with the nervous system. We're working with the muscular system. We're not really treating pain. We're treating control deficits, how your brain isn't using its body correctly. So anyway, teaches you about leveraging exercise and mechanics and physiology to optimize that client. Creates this is the huge thing, lifelong professional relationship with the client. build out strong referral systems. And then, like I said earlier, you're doing field science, and you're testing and playing with nervous systems and bodies all day, every day. So, how you guys doing, by the way? Good still? Haven't lost you yet? Check. Other than her, she out. No. Will. And so yeah, this will help you to build a successful process in business. It's super fun, and you'll have a blast doing it. So, what else I got for you guys? Okay, so this is kind of my pitch. This is the stuff that we're doing at Intentional Fitness. So we just started this about 5 or 6 months ago. We have a YouTube study session thing that we're doing every Wednesday from 8 to 9:30. And so we do YouTube lives, and we just get a bunch of nerds in there, and we just geek out on functional anatomy, biomechanics, client intake, positional testing, load-based training, periodization, whatever it might be. It's different all the time, but you can actually, if you guys want to, you can hop on and you can watch us, going through this stuff and watch us deep dive into this. It's kind of wild. Like I literally did this just to record these videos to send to the people that are going through the internship, so that I didn't have to stack a bunch of RAM and storage on my phone, because you can YouTube live stuff. But we started getting 2,000 people watching us, and I was like, what is going on? This is crazy. So it doesn't happen every time. Sometimes there's 2 people from Korea watching us or whatever. But anyway, it's interesting. So that's available. That's the YouTube channel is stay.mobility, if you guys want to hop on there and check that out. I'm also affiliated with Cal Poly. I do have an internship program with them. This is kind of just a once over on the internship that I built out for the Cal Poly students. I also have a functional anatomy internship study course thing, where we go into the functional anatomy of biomechanics and kind of the physiology component of the body. I know you guys have a wonderful anatomy program. The biomechanics lab is awesome, but there are certain things that weren't covered in this curriculum, specifically understanding levers, load on the body, tissue tolerances, how the joints are moving under load, those kinds of things. At least in the math or the bachelor's degree, you don't get a lot of that practical application understanding, positional testing and the physics of exercise. So that's something that I do too. These are things that if you were to start diving into this stuff, I would be more than happy to reach out to you guys. We could do a course if anyone wanted to jump in on this. The Cal Poly internship, this is pretty much, I know I've been saying this the whole time today, but I'll just go over this again. Expose intern to a new way of thinking about the integration of the nervous system, biomechanical capacity, and the functional anatomy of the body. Educate them on inner workings development of high-end exercise, client-defined training facility. Provide intern with a foundation for when and why to refer out. Expose intern to exercise professional education. This is what I just exposed you guys to, the MSS cert. And then develop a solid foundation of excellent habits and process for life, personal development, and business development. So that's kind of what I got there for you. And then hopefully get closer to figuring out what you want to do with your career, and learn and apply the structure and function of anatomy, apply biomechanics to your life, all that good stuff. Oh my gosh, it's been an hour. I can't believe that. I've been yammering at you guys for an hour.
I get them for an hour and 20 minutes. So you
know.
can keep talking, Chaz, if you want.
Do you mind? I need
No,
to
you
text
go.
Sorry guys, let me.
No,
I'm almost
you were
done, I
sharing.
promise
You were sharing a lot of good information.
Okay,
I hope
I gotta text my client, so I'm gonna be late.